So it's Madison, and a lot of people like the movies. Of course, in Roatan, there's no place to go see them, except now there's Tercer Cine, and Tercer Cine is the brainchild of Joaquin and Juan Pedro, and they're both with us this morning. So explain Tercer Cine.
Well, first of all, hello. I'm Joaquin. Uh, and well, Tercer Cine is a beautiful experience that we've been creating since September of past year. We are not 1 year yet. We built it with Juan Pedro and Laura Bermudez, a directress from here, from Honduras, and Jose Guerrero, our administrator, in mainland, in Tegucigalpa. The problem was that we had not a space to communicate with directors, with other actors, with other filmmakers, and no place to go to see those movies, independent movies that were talking about uh, our problems.
Movies are being made every day, So, Juan Pedro, how are you involved in connecting these independent filmmakers? I know we've had people from Mexico and across Latin America that have produced some pretty good films,
Yeah.
and now they're getting a chance to show them. Of course, they're uh, the cost of doing a movie now is way lower than it ever has been, and with the technology, people are able to make really good ones. What have we seen so far at Tercer Cine?
So far, well, to talk a little bit about my involvement, and I can roll into the last bit of this question. I'm coming from my field is film programming, and I've worked in nonprofits in the U.S. arts nonprofits, mainly based out of New York City, um, where I was connecting with a lot of independent filmmakers, a lot of them Latin American, and a lot of them expressing concerns about how their films um, are very specific to their regions and are telling the stories of the people in Latin America. However, um, you know, they were mainly playing in Europe and the United States, and so learning that, and after me, Joaquin and Laura and everyone, and Josie, we're like, we have to bring these films to Honduras and show them to the people who are represented on the screen, because oftentimes we don't see the things that are, we don't see ourselves represented on screen in Latin America. And so that's sort of what we started doing, and then that's where my role comes in, connecting filmmakers we've met in the States and throughout festivals and in these organizations. Um, what have we seen so far? We've seen a diverse array of films, from nonfiction films to fiction. Just last night, we watched a film from 2015 from Costa Rica. Speaking of like the accessibility of making films these days, this was shot in a DSLR, like very cheap camera, and it played at Tribeca and did really well. And so we've seen that sort of film. It's a fiction film. It's a beautiful film called Viaje by Paz Fabregas. So we've trying to represent Central America too. We've then the week before we watched a Brazilian film called Temporada, by a filmmaker. His name is André Novaes Oliveira. We also focus on nonfiction film, like Joaquin said. Laura is a filmmaker and she's a documentary filmmaker. So we really try to focus on documentary film, specifically because documentary film is often ignored. When we're presenting films, a lot of people have come up to us after we presented a documentary film. They're like, "When are you going to present an actual, like a movie, una película?" And it's like, well, this is a film, So we're trying to change that mindset and build a new audience in Honduras, because documentary film is actually pretty accessible to make. The technology is there, the cameras are there. You can shoot documentary and you can tell the stories that are in these countries. So we're really focusing on documentary film from all walks of life, from Latin America, U.S. Latin American filmmakers, to U.S., Mexico, all throughout Central America, South America.
Well, and the very nature of the name Tercer Cine indicates third world country or third world movies, correct?
Yes,
Right.
indeed.
I think Joaquin can speak to this. Yeah.
Yes, indeed,
Um,
Tercer Cine is the name of a movement of filmmakers in the 60s and 70s that were a little bit in a weird position in between the filmmaking, the industry in United States, that huge industry from United States that has like an expectations of earning, of profit, of a lot of profit sometimes, and that another industry in between Europe and Russia that was confronting that United States film industry. And the third position, the position of those filmmakers that were filming for their own communities, no matter the big discussions in between two big, by the Cold War, two big empires, for saying in which movie empires, the European and Russian industry and the Hollywood industry. So they plant a position, they based a position on making films for make Latin America society a little bit better. That was the idea of those filmmakers, and Laura kept that name for her own enterprise to make something for the Honduran community. And as she told us to put that name to our space, we said, yes, is that. We are not in a fight in between two different worlds. We are in one. We are here, and we want to make this these movies. We want them to be something special for our own community, not just consuming cinema. That's why we try to connect different filmmakers and their audiences here. We try to make open mics after each presentation, so we can give a common sense to what we are watching, because independent films probably are the most non-linear, how can I say, non non-simple arguments. There are arguments as complex as life. So it's nice to talk about those things, That's why Tercer Cine
Well, it's good.
is the name of our project.
It didn't mean to interrupt. It's good that they're here. It's good that we have something to see. It's good to expose ourselves. I think Netflix has opened up the documentary category and shown that it is a viable way of telling stories. And there are a lot of stories in Latin America that deserve to be told. As you mentioned, the larger industries, if they can't turn a profit on it, what's the point? They won't do it. If they can't make lots of money, they tend to kill a project. Because it's about exposure and it's about getting out there. And it's good to have this venue here on Roatan. Usually it's 3 shows, 3 nights in a row, and we'll give you the information about where this week's are. And I want to thank you, Joaquin, and thank you, Juan Pedro, for joining us this morning on Blue Wave Radio.
Thanks to you.
Thank you, Chief. What a pleasure. Thank you for giving us this space. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, now.